chapter 11, you were out of the class at the end. We were discussing different variables, out of which come so many different levels. In the category that we're discussing of tzaddik v'ra'aloi, and one of the variables, for some reason the Alter Rebbe does not mention there, is intention. Thank you very much. Thank you. Intention. Is a thing an accident? Is it? I mean, it's a very important thing in halacha. There's a difference in the consequences. If you do something by accident, or you do something because you didn't know it was not the right thing to do, you thought it was a permissible thing to do, or even the Beis Din made a new ruling and you didn't even know about it. As opposed to somebody who knew about it and decided that he didn't care, wasn't in favor of their decision, he decides not going to listen to their decision, or somebody who really wanted to harm someone else. Someone didn't just indulge in the Yetzer in Lashon Hara because it was interesting. He did it because he really wanted to hurt the person. Lashon Hara really does hurt.
I think we talked about that a couple days ago.
What?
We talked about that a couple days ago, right?
Yeah. I wasn't sure that you were in the class
Oh,
when I
yeah,
first mentioned it, so it could be that I said it again to catch you up.
maybe. Thank you.
Okay, chapter 12. Good morning, Leah. From Brazil.
You saw how punctual I am today?
What?
How punctual I am today? Time.
Yes, good for you. Good for everybody. It was very
Yeah.
impressive coming into the yeshiva and seeing everybody there learning.
Yeah.
I woke up late today and I said I can't miss Rabbi Pape's class. And usually it takes me so much longer to get ready. And all of a sudden I was ready and it was before 8:30 and I was like, wow. When I just asked Hashem to get me on time for Rabbi Pape's class.
Wow, that's so sweet of you.
And I was sitting here.
And then you came in and you were late. Everybody was there already for
Yeah.
15 minutes extra.
Oh yeah, but that's extra credit.
That's extra, right?
Yeah, I need to get what
Yeah,
I'm supposed
we,
to do.
That's
exactly.
downstairs.
Let's
Those are called
small accomplishments.
Yeah.
Gan Eden points. Extra credits, Gan Eden points.
I think me getting here on time is also gone 8 points.
For sure, for sure. Not just getting here on time, but even if you always come 10 minutes late and you get down to 5 minutes late, that's also points.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't matter which, the famous example, you have two people on this identical ladder. One is on the 25th rung and one is on the 5th rung. Who's higher? It all depends which direction they're going.
Yeah,
True.
perfect.
It's the momentum that counts.
My mom and dad always would say when I was little, momentum is your friend, because they would ride bikes and you'd be scared to go down a hill or something. And they would say, momentum is your friend. And then you just have to go with it and trust that like the momentum's got you.
Wow,
Yeah, don't be afraid of the momentum.
that's deep, huh? I like that.
You can have it.
Yeah, I'm gonna copy.
She gave it to you.
Yeah, I just picked it. The momentum.
Momentum is your friend. Right.
Very good.
Wow. Okay, so we're gonna mark you in Sarah Abigail as the first one in class today. Even though Devorah was here earlier, but she was in the other class.
Devorah left before I got out of bed.
What?
Oh, you Devorah. I was gonna say my Devorah,
Ah,
like my roommate who does the Zoom, left before I got up.
because you left before you got up.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And that's how that's when I'm always late, is before I get up, but then I was on time.
That's okay.
Ariel.
Yeah. No, it's just hers.
Rachel.
She every time I wear it, she always. I like it, but I never wore it that good. So, she never actually wore it. Because divorce. Nobody did. No, man, it's good for you. It's also good for me too.
Good morning. Good morning.
I used to put on both my kids'
You are Mushka, right?
Yeah, and I said, oh, my skirt.
I was very impressed by what you said the other day.
What did I say?
What was it that you said
In Ukraine.
about what's going on? It was probably you heard these things from your parents to know that. That's the kind of comment I would hear from.
It came from a family that they passed the Holocaust and the First War and all what happened in between and after. My mother almost got arrested when she was a teenager from the KGB.
Where was that?
In Kiev.
In Kiev. Why was she almost
Not
arrested?
KGB, like what was after that? The ones that were after that. Because they thought that she is a spy and everything. Like that was
That's
she's
Eastern
not that
Europe.
old. But yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the shluchim who were there were thrown out of Russia on the grounds that they were spies.
Yeah.
People in Russia were brought up with
The Russia that my
with suspicion.
parents know, it's not.
Everybody's under suspicion, and everybody informs on their neighbors, on their best friend.
Yeah, that's scary. You cannot trust
You,
anyone.
the one that is your friend could be tomorrow your enemy.
Exactly.
That's what my grandmother always told me. Like that, she would, every time that we would come to her, she would tell me, you can't trust anybody, you can't talk to anybody, no giving no one information. She was like just traumatized.
That's how they lived. That's how they had to live. Leah Rappaport.
Yeah.
Okay. I mentioned it the other day that there was an artist used to work for us from Russia. She said she could tell just by the way a person walked if they had grown up in Russia.
Yeah.
Mm.
You could tell.
Like afraid or like.
They always look around, like in back, in front, like always, even in the small
Yeah,
streets in between.
I have
everything.
this feeling in myself. I'm Sephardi. I have nothing in my genealogic about that. I have other things, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like that. And I always have food.
Yeah.
I always have
My
food. I always
grandmother, a half
I
a
don't
year
talk a
after
lot.
she passed away, no one needed to still do shopping because she does, all her basement was just collects of food, toilet paper, everything, like whatever you need for the house, stocks. It's still there. My grandmother passed away before 7 months. And it's like, it's still.
Wow. Okay, well, today I want to mention the name of a cousin of mine, named after my grandfather, Benjamin Zev. His father, his name was Moshe Yosef, and they're Levium. His yahrzeit is today. He has no children. Could say Kaddish. So today's his yahrzeit. So this class is should be for an aliyah for his neshama. Yeah, so you came yesterday. Yesterday we spoke about this idea, which I'd like to explain. Moichin de gadlus lamaila. When a person says, we spoke about how a person can be completely plugged in, good morning, Chedva, to holiness, to Hashem. How do you get there? Through meditating. It doesn't just happen like that. It can happen like that in an extreme kind of situation. Somebody threatens your life, and you do something extraordinary to save somebody else. So you have your self-sacrifice brings you very, very close to Hashem. There's nothing, you have no other agenda except to do what Hashem wants, which is to save this person's life. But otherwise, to get to such a level of connection and attachment to Hashem, you have to prepare yourself mentally and emotionally for it. And how do you do that? That's what we were talking about last day. So there are 3 stages of meditation that's considered to be spiritual work that we have to do. And it goes like this. First, we have to think about all the things that we know about in the world and how they all get their life from Hashem. Those of you who learn the daily Shir Tanya. So today, the Alter Rebbe even speaks about the fact that everything has life in it, even things that we think have no life in them, like stones, everything has a spirit of life that's in it. So we can even speak about the soul of inanimate objects. So everything has life in it, and the life comes from Hashem. I know somebody who's in medicine, and I was having a discussion with him because he's kind of skeptical. Even though he's in medicine, he's skeptical. So I said to him, look, if a person is very, very sick, and you take care of him, and you're very good at it, you take care of him and he gets better. So the family comes and says, thank you. They're very grateful to you. You saved the life of someone that they love. Okay. What happens if you can't save their life? What happens if the medical staff in the hospital gives up on this person? They call in the people called hospice, which take care of people and take care of the family when they know that there's nothing more we can do for him. The hospice arranges for the last rites, the last moments, and they help the family over that threshold of when the person, heaven forbid, passes away. So the hospital gives up, the doctors give up, the hospice people come in, the family resigns themselves to the fact that they're going to lose their beloved member of the family, and it's all over, right? All of a sudden he gets better. So what happened? I said to him, would you say that that's a miracle? What else would you attribute it to? You'd say it's his own inner stamina, his own inner koiches, but he didn't have those inner koiches. The hospital was trying, the doctors were trying everything they could to access those inner koiches, those inner powers. They couldn't do it. And he was out of it. He was out of it. They gave up on him. They called in the hospice. That's pretty extreme. And then all of a sudden he came back. What happened? Was that a miracle? Would you admit, you don't believe in miracles. Would you admit that that's a miracle?
Yeah.
So I guess.
Many people, after they see stuff like that, so they start believing in Hashem or stuff.
So
like
you
that.
sort of have to believe it's a miracle. I had a student once. He came to me. I was into my second year working on campus. I had a student who had a big problem. He was studying anthropology, and his professor was giving them information. He said, what am I supposed to do? My teacher says the world is billions of years old, and you're telling me it's 5,738.
This is a classic.
That was 1978. I said, not a problem. Ask your teacher just to tell you, where does life come from? And he'll give you an answer, but then don't give up. Don't walk away. Say, but where did that life come from? And don't give up. And when he gives you an answer, then ask him again and ask him again and ask him again, and don't let him off the hook. Just and see what happens. Do an experiment. So he asked him, where does life come from? He said, well, human life, we think it is evolved from apes. Okay, where did the apes come from?
What's it?
Apes, you know.
Monkey. Apes, I never heard apes.
You can, Professor Google can tell you about them, anything you want to know.
I just don't want to.
Who is this?
Apes,
Hava.
monkey.
Good morning.
One more word. My glossary.
So they come from apes. So where did the apes come from? Well, we think that the apes sort of evolved from creatures that came out of the sea, and then they adapted to living on the land. Oh, wow. We didn't let them go. Where did those creatures come from? Well, I don't know what he would have explained, but then where does the world come from? Well, the world came from a big bang. It was really a big star, and it exploded, and it came to the earth. And in the earth was all the elements to put together. There should be water and air, and they combined, and then these sea creatures, and they came out and they evolved into ape-like creatures. Neanderthal man, they call it Neanderthal man. Well, where did that exploding star come from? He kept at him. He said, well, from gases. So it's starting to become more and more ridiculous in the mind of this student that out of gases could come this whole bell curve of evolution. But he said to him, but where did the gases come from? So finally the teacher gave up. He says, I don't know. I guess it was an act of God. You have to say it was an act of God. So then he came back to me. He was laughing. He told me that. I said, so the next question is, if the whole of creation is an act of God, and it's on a curve, we're going to call this curve the curve of evolution. What difference is it where the curve starts? What difference does it make? Could start here, could start there, could start yesterday, could start today. And that's what the Baal Shem Tov, that's what we're supposed to think, that the whole world is created brand new out of nothing today, right now. I was once at a Verbringen. It was Yud Shvat. People had come from all over to be by the Rebbe. And they'd had Verbringens with the Rebbe, and they'd had Yechidus with the Rebbe. And now was the time for them to go home. And they'd all book tickets, plane tickets, which didn't used to be cheap at all. Good morning, Pesha from Florida.
Good morning.
Okay.
More here.
Getting your coffee. And
Here.
they all booked their tickets. And at the last minute on the day that they were leaving, because the flights leave overseas in the evening between like 5 and 1 o'clock in the morning. So they're all getting getting ready to run to the airport to catch their flight. And punct in the afternoon, the Rebbe makes a surprise for Bringen, which nobody wants to miss. The Rebbe's going to teach, no one wants to miss it, but if they're going to be at the Bringen, they're going to miss their flight. And everybody's nervous, and everybody's looking at the clock, and the Rebbe's for bringing, and the Rebbe knows what's going on. He said to them, why is everybody nervous about missing your flight? Don't you realize the plane that you have to take has not been created yet? And now, okay. And this is the great teaching of the Baal Shem Tov, that creation isn't the one time, something happened a long time ago. It's constantly happening. All right.
Did they miss the flight?
Oh, yeah. What about so when the Farbrengen was over, they all ran home, called the taxi, rushed to the airport, and guess what?
Guess what? The flight
Plane
was
had
late.
engine trouble. You could say, how does the Rebbe do that? How do you make a plane have engine trouble?
You do. You believe in God.
That's a Rebbe. I heard from Rabbi Groner one time, he said, this story is not for publication. There was a person who got into serious trouble with the law about income tax evasion, and they had the whole case on him. There was no way he was going to get off the hook. And it came to the time for the conclusion of the trial, and everything was on computer, and there'd been a computer failure, and all the data had been erased. They didn't have any of the data anymore. So this guy said to his Lubavitcher friend, how do you make data disappear? He said, it's not for publication. We don't want to say that the Rebbe helps people to, break the law.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful where you repeat that
What
story.
was he accused of again?
A similar story, a guy told me, this was
Tax,
another
tax,
story, not for
tax,
publication.
Not paying tax.
Another story, not for publication. A guy told me that there was a new bakery, a patisserie, right, in the 5 towns, and he's a friendly guy. So he went in, he said hello and so on, and the person there said, "You're a Lubavitcher. I'll tell you a story about the Lubavitcher. My mother," he said, "they're not for publication. Don't repeat the story. My mother is from Williamsburg, Hungarian background. In those days, there used to be a lot of friction between Williamsburg and Lubavitch. The Lubavitch would come there to say over sichos from the Rebbe, and they didn't want to hear. And sometimes they got very stroppy about it. Anyway, so he said, so my mother worked in this, she was like the secretary in one of their major institutions. And there was a lot of hanky-panky going on with government grants, getting money from the government in not exactly legal ways. Oh, I shouldn't say this. We're on. I'm saying, don't say this. This is on the internet. Okay, I'm not going to continue with that story.
No. I can turn it on mute.
Can
You guys can put it on mute.
No,
for the
it's
story.
And with poor Pesha, she doesn't want but Pesha's here. Here, Pesha. I'm going to say hello to everybody. This is Pesha.
No more pressure. You touched something
No, I
here.
think,
I don't-
I think it's just here. Let's see it.
still on.
Yeah,
There's pressure.
there she is.
Pesha's in Florida. Say hi, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Anna. Yeah, no, I can't tell the story.
Okay, I was really excited about this.
Huh? No, it's not fair.
Oh, she's online?
She's online, yeah. Okay, so let's get back to the text. This is what we're supposed to, this is for bringing, maybe, you know what, can you come in a month's time, B'Shvishal Pesach, you come to the Farbrengen in the morning, I'll tell you, Machmon, you remind, Machon, you'll tell me this, you'll remind me, I'll tell you the story.
Which for Farbrengen?
On the 7th night of Pesach.
Seventh
Yeah,
night
I
of
remember.
Pesach.
No, the
Okay,
story.
I'm not here, but I'm gonna hear from.
Rabbi Pape,
Oh,
how
she's
will we
here
remind
before
you
she
to remind
goes.
us- For you to tell us,
What?
how will we remind you? What should we say to reference it?
Facebook
You'll
Live.
work it out. You'll think of something to
The
say.
story from the
The
illegal.
story
The illegal story, Facebook Live.
Anyway, the bottom line is
Um,
that when the IRS closed in on this institution, her name was on all the documents.
Oh, no.
So she was left holding the bag. She was just a secretary, but she was just holding the bag. And they understood very well what was the whole story about. But her name was the one that was on the documents. And she went to the Rebbe and she asked for a blessing. Said, I'm a mother, I have little children. What can the Rebbe said? The Rebbe thought. He said, you'll have to sit for a year. Have to sit for a year. She said, Rabbi, I can't. And she kept on appealing to the Rebbe to have, to give her a bracha that she shouldn't have to go to jail. And she like bargained him down. In the end, he said, okay, finally, it'll have to be 2 weeks. And that was exactly what happened. But I'll tell you another kind of story, one more along these lines. You all know the musician, you've heard of obviously Amenta. So his wife, her father was in the food business and he knew the Raskins and from our community. He knew Lubavitch. He wasn't a Lubavitcher, he wasn't so religious. And he got very sick with that terrible disease. And the doctor said he had a few months left to live. Chutzpah. The Rebbe always used to complain about doctors who think they're God and they can tell people how long they're going to live. So when they heard that news, they went. They were not married yet. They were just engaged. Avi and his wife, Yehudit is her name, and they went to the Ohel of the Friediger Rebbe. And they prayed for her father that he should be well, he should live, and he should be well. And he sort of got his strength back and they dismissed him from the hospital and they were driving him home. It was about 10 days later, they were driving him home. And he turns and says, that night that you kids came to visit me in the hospital, I had the funniest dream. I dreamt that the Friediger Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, this was in the 1970s, right? So the previous Rebbe is not physically here since 1950, Yud Shvat. He says, I had a dream about the previous Rebbe. He came and he said to me, how much would it be worth for me to live a year? So I said, $100. He says, what? You want to live for a year for $100? Gotta be joking. He says, okay. So he upped the ante, $200, $500. Finally, they settled on $1,000 a year. And then he woke up. $5,000, $1,000 a year for 10 years. Friediger Rebbe gave him a blessing. He would live in his dream, live for 10 years. And he woke up feeling very, very happy because he'd made such a good bargain. He made such a good deal. That's what he told them. And they said, what? Why didn't you tell us? He says, I don't know why I didn't tell you, but I did that. Just as they were driving him home, he remembered, he told them the whole story. And so they right away wrote into the Rebbe and told the Rebbe the whole story. And the Rebbe said, kashrus and tefillin. You should be careful about kashrus, about eating kosher food, and about putting on tefillin regularly. So he took it on. And he said, this is my father-in-law's blessing. He just said, in order to realize that blessing, you have to be careful, at least in these two areas. And they did. And of course, when they wrote into the Rebbe, they included a check for $1,000 for the first year, right away. And he had a complete recovery. Didn't live 3 months. He lived 6 months and 8 months and a year. And they gave him another $1,000. It was another year. And so it went on. What?
How many years?
How many years did he go? Well, after 7 years, he started to get a little bit lax about putting on tefillin. Sometimes he'd miss with the tefillin, and sometimes he wasn't so careful about what he ate, maybe at I don't know when, a simcha, whatever it is, and the disease came back. But he got 7 years. He got 7 years. You know any doctor who could do that? In a dream. Well, you could explain it. You could say, well, it wasn't the Frierdiker Rebbe who did it in a dream. The Rebbe did it. The Rebbe gave him the bracha. But the Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe, it's like two hands. It's one thing.
Everything is like what's supposed to happen by the end. Doesn't matter who was the shooter. Right.
Okay, well, we didn't learn any text today. That's what Rabbi Pacheski gets all upset about. We got to finish 22 chapters, and we're only on to chapter 12. We don't have enough weeks left to get there. All right, but what we're talking about is this tremendous love of Hashem that a person can experience, and it comes from meditation. First, step one, you think about how the whole world is filled with the life of God. And the second step is to realize that there's a higher level of life than the life that fills the whole world. That what was before the world was created? Before the world was created, what was there? Chava, imagine. What was there? There was no Hashem was there. Hashem was there, right? And we discussed the whole thing. How can we understand? How did Hashem make a world when there was only He? Where was He going to put this world?
I said nothing because physically, you say the world, so the world is a physical thing. So before the world, there was nothing.
So before there was a world, there was had to be a thought of the world.
There was a thought
Who
of the
thought
world,
that
and the world
thought?
would exist.
A plan.
Who thought of it? Whose plan was it? Where is the plan? The plan is in the Torah. It says, the Medrash says Hashem looked in the Torah like an architect looks into his plans that he makes. And then there was the thought of the plan. But before all these levels, there is just Hashem. Ein od milvado. There is nothing, only He. Here's Tova. There's only He. Okay. So now you got to the second level of meditation. When I first came here, I asked a Bacher, they told me he was very smart in Hasidus. I said, what's the difference between these two levels? Mamale kol almin is one of them. That means he fills the whole world with life. And soiviv kol almin is the other one, that he's beyond the world. He said, each of these levels has a message. The message of Mamale is that everything in the world gets its life from God. And the message of Soivev, it's called Soivev Kol Almin. We didn't get there yet in the Tanya to speak about Soivev Kol Almin. The message is there is no world. There's only God. There is only God. And then you get to a third level, because like Chava is twigging onto this idea that if you're talking about the world, the whole concept of the world is already something. It's something. But there's a level of God that's beyond even any idea of the world. So that He fills the world, that He's bigger than the world, those are two sides of the same coin, heads and tails. But He is the one, the only one. So when a person thinks about this, then his heart is filled with awe and bittul. Bittul, how do we translate bittul? Subservience. Nullification. What does that mean? Self-nullification. Abnegation, self-abnegation. What am I? I'm not feeling of nothingness, insignificance. just the awareness, just your mind and your heart are filled just with the awareness of God, not of yourself. Okay, so that's when a person that experiences this feeling that he describes that you have when you say Shema. That's how you should feel when you have. That's how you prepare for Shema. And like we said in the last class, at the beginning of the silent prayer, we say, Hashem, open my lips. I can't say anything before you. You're so filled with awe, like that treasurer from the kibbutz. He went in front of the Rebbe, full of skepticism, and he came out, he couldn't say a word. Couldn't say anything. Or is this person from Morocco, who was one of the main people in the community, a real doer, active person in the community, a very religious person, a very strong believer in holiness and godliness, in tzaddikim. And the Rebbe asked his shliach there, Rebbe Raskin, to get him involved in translating the Tanya into Arabic. He said, I can't translate it, I never learned it. And this is all gem video, you can see it. He got him involved, and after he would translate it in many chapters, like 20, 30 chapters, the Rebbe said, bring him here, bring him. So he came, and when he stood there before the Rebbe, he just started to cry. He couldn't look at the Rebbe, he was just weeping. He said, I wasn't prepared for this. Because he was a very sensitive person. He saw the holiness of the Rebbe and he just broke down. So that's the idea of bittul, the bittul that a person has before the holiness of the Almighty. And that, when do we have that? We have that at special times, like in the morning when we daven Shmona Esrei, or when we say Kriya Shema, because he says here, this is a time of moichin, the godless lamaila, of Hashem's great intellectual revelation on high. And it's also a very special time for us when we can connect ourselves to the name of Hashem. I'm gonna have to stop here because I gotta go to say Kaddish for my cousin. Yeah.
The first stage is thinking about all the things that we know are of Hashem. And the
To
second
think about,
stage
to think about
is-
everything that we can think of.
and
Think about the
second-
spider with its web and the birds that they migrate and the flowers become buds coming out on the trees and whatever you're tuned into.
And the second one is there is only God.
Only
That's the
God. No,
second
yeah, second stage. There is no world. Ain, yeah. And the third stage is Ain Od Milvado. It's not, the second stage is a denial of world. So that's also connected with the concept of there's a world. This is a positive concept. God fills the world with life. Negative concept, the whole world is nothing. But beyond that is before world. It's like the very first class in Tanya, those of you who are here will remember, we start with the whiteboard and say, let this represent God. This is white. There's nothing here. There's no world. There's not. And then we're going to make one dot, and that dot is going to be the beginning of creation. Everything that you know that's created is going to come out of that first creative dot,
Yeah, but
which is
going back,
symbolized in the Aleph base by the letter Yud.
Yud.
It's just a dot.
This is the third stage. You are talking about the first,
The whiteboard represents the third
the
stage.
third stage.
There is
Okay.
only Hashem. There is no beyond world altogether. Second stage, there is no world. Third stage is totally being world. What's world? World. What world? Who world? Where world?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great Shabbos, everybody.
Great Shabbos.